all please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, would you please note the roll?
Chairman Bray is present. Vice Chairman Barnes is present. Commissioner Kish is present. Commissioner Keys is present. Commissioner Maloney is present. And Commissioner Steiner is present. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. I'll entertain a motion to excuse Commissioner Walters from this evening's meeting from any of my fellow commissioners, please.
Second.
Actually, Kish, how about you?
I move that we dismiss Commissioner Walters from this evening's meeting.
Thank you.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Kish, seconded by Commissioner Barnes to excuse Commissioner Walters from this evening's meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 4 is the minutes. Minutes are provided to you, and it was minutes from December 5th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve those draft minutes?
Motion to approve the draft minutes last meeting.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Keys, seconded by Commissioner Steiner to approve the minutes from December 15, 2018. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Agenda item number 5, this is public comment. This is now the time for citizens who would like to address the Planning and Zoning Commission on any non-agenda items. Is there any member from the public that wants to address the commission on non-agenda items? Perfect. Agenda item number 6, this is a disclosure of any ex parte communication, the opportunity for commission members to disclose any ex parte communication they may have had prior to this meeting. Is there any commissioner that wish to do so at this time?
No.
Thank you. There is no old business, so we will move right into new business. New business is the rezone of Goodyear Airport Commons property, agriculture urban to light industrial. Karen will be presenting on this issue, and I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Goodyear Airport Commons 95-acre property is located on the south side of Van Buren Street between Bullard Avenue on the east and the Bullard Wash property on the west. Just to the west of the Bullard Wash property is the Centera single-family neighborhood. The owner of the property has submitted a rezone application to rezone the property from AU agricultural urban to I1 light industrial, C2 general commercial, and multifamily FM24. It also requested a PAD overlay. And the PAD overlay is for this 5-acre flex zoning parcel. The idea being that depending on market conditions, that flex parcel will either develop as commercial or it will develop as multifamily. The I1, C2, and FM24 parcels will follow the city's zoning ordinance development regulations, with the exception that both the MF24 parcel and the I1 parcel will have a 10-foot buffer along the Bullard Wash property. The idea being that that will provide a very accessible point of connectivity with the developed Bullard Wash. The owner of the property will develop in the Bullard Wash pursuant to this trail plan that's part of the city parks master plan. It will include a 10 to 12 foot wide paved trail with a 4-foot wide DG shoulder, and then there will be landscaping on either side of that. Also, because of being on Bullard Avenue, the property will adhere to the city's Bullard Avenue corridor design treatment strategies. I think previously when there was another property on Bullard Avenue before you, staff told you that we were working on a plan to enhance landscaping along Bullard Avenue to make it a true corridor from Van Buren to Yuma Road. And there will be a full 50-foot landscape buffer on either side of Bullard Avenue as opposed to the normally required 30 feet. And then there will be entry features, specific entry feature areas at Van Buren and down on Yuma. This shows you the components of those entry features. There will be enhanced plantings, artificial turf, panel signage, and accent tree groves. And then this is the layout of those different sections at all four corners, and this is what it's going to look like when it's planted. And the property owners along Bullard will be responsible for incorporating the planting plans into their development plans. And this shows you the whole streetscape from up at Van Buren as it goes down to the mid-block area, and then it continues from there down to Yuma. So it's going to be quite nice. Then staff is recommending approval of this rezoning application, subject to the stipulations in the draft ordinance in your staff report, and we are asking that you recommend approval as well. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and the property owner is here too.
Thank you, Karen. Appreciate that. Is there any questions for Karen at this time?
No.
Seeing none. Does the applicant wish to address the commission? Name and address for the record, please.
Hi, I'm Mike Bushbacher. Address is 10450 North 74th Street, Suite 200, Scottsdale, 85258. Thank you for reviewing and listening to a presentation on this rezoning case. I'm going to leave the graphic up that's there right now and just kind of point out some of the highlights. And I just kind of got stuck in traffic getting over here, so I just got in. If you give me 1 second. We have consistency with the general plan. We have suitability for the required uses. We're compatible with surrounding uses. It promotes orderly growth. This allows flexibility for future development. It provides connectivity between the lots, which I think is a good thing. Provides eventually better roads as these areas develop. And it's a catalyst for kind of a new neighborhood businesses as they kind of start to develop. And it also provides a new amenity for recreation and trail along the Bullard Wash. So I think this is an excellent opportunity to kind of put the best of planning together. And we've worked with the city for the last several months, kind of trying to come up with a good plan. So with that, I will take any questions or.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant? Seeing none? Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Do we have any speakers cards on this particular item? Anybody from the public that wishes to address the commission on this agenda item? Perfect. Any final questions for staff or applicant from the commission? All right. I will close the public hearing and ask for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve number 18-200-00011.
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Maloney, seconded by Commissioner Steiner to approve case 18-200-00001, the rezone airport commons property from agriculture urban to light industrial. Is there any discussion? Discussion, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. On to agenda item 8.2. This is the Sundias Farms PAD amendment. Katie will be presenting on this one, and I will open the public hearing.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the Commission. As was stated, this is a request to amend the PAD for Sundias Farms. Sundias Farms is located northwest of Estrella Parkway and Elwood Street. It's approximately 160 acres, and it was originally zoned in 2008. It included both residential uses and commerce center uses on the south side of the property. This proposal is to change the commerce center designations to residential designations. There are no changes to the remaining portion of the property, but we have restated the PAD, cleaned up some of the language of the PAD, but there's no changes to the regulations within the PAD for the rest of the parcels. Some of the cleanup included adding a permitted use table for ease of use. The new residential parcels follow the residential development standards that were already within the PAD document. The PAD also includes smaller lots, and per the zoning ordinance standards, the Sundias Farms PAD has included what elements will be included to justify those smaller lots, including additional park space, smaller blocks, and streetscape enhancements. There was a citizen review meeting held in December, and there was no one from the public who attended that meeting. Since that meeting, we did receive one inquiry from a property owner just south of Elwood regarding, the intersection of Elwood. It's the south half of Elwood, including the median, is already improved and includes a full access at 156th Avenue. Per current engineering design standards, that should be converted to a 3/4 instead of full access, which basically means no left turn out. However, upon reviewing that in more detail, reviewing the concern of the property owner to the south of that median changing, engineering has concluded that they don't think that the traffic of the area will necessitate that converting from full access to 3/4 access, at least in the 20-year planning horizon that we look at for the traffic studies. Therefore, we anticipate that will remain a full access. I do also want to note that this rezoning proposal is not what's triggering the possible cause for the median, whether that was business and commerce or residential. It's just in our current standards that typically at the 8th mile, there's only a 3/4 access. But again, we do think we've worked through this issue with the property owner, and that area can remain as it is today, having a full access to that property to the south. The engineering director is here if you do have more questions regarding the traffic concern. I do want to note too that we did find a few Scrivener's errors in the ordinance that will be going forward to council, nothing that changes content. So we have updated those. We did provide you a red line version of the regulatory book with some changes that were made after it was published on the website. Staff has found that the proposed PAD amendment meets all requirements, and therefore we recommend that Planning and Zoning Commission forward a recommendation of approval to City Council. The applicant is also present. Ed Bull, representing the applicant, is here tonight.
Thank you, Katie. Any questions for Katie at this time? No. Seeing none, you said the applicant's here. Mm-hmm. Can you address the commission? Mr. Bull?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioners, Ed Bull, 702 East Osborne. I'm here with Todd Tupper and Kevin Kugler. We appreciate staff's recommendation. We accept staff's recommended 17 updated stipulations. I agree with every word Katie just said. If you have cards or speakers and want a full presentation from me, I'm happy to provide it. If you don't, or if you're comfortable with staff's recommendation and don't need or want a presentation, I'm happy to sit down. But we appreciate the recommendation and accept the stipulations.
Any questions for Mr. Bull?
Nope.
Nope. I think you're off the hook. Maybe. Let me make sure there's nothing from the public.
All right.
I don't have any speakers cards, but is there anyone from the public that wishes to address the commission on this issue? Perfect. I guess you're all here for item 3. Any final questions? right, I will close the public hearing on that, and I will ask for a motion.
I will move that we approve item, I don't even remember what item we are. 172100008.
A second?
It has been moved by Commissioner Barnes, seconded by Commissioner Kish to approve 1721000008 Sundias Farms PAD amendment. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. On to agenda item number 8.3. We're so excited to start the new year with all of our citizens here. Usually don't get this much attention.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of order, if I may, before Mr. Crecchio delivers the staff presentation. Would you, for the benefit of the audience, kind of go over the guidelines of time and so forth
I can do
for
that.
speakers?
Yes.
Thank
So just to let the audience know, also to help out our secretary and staff, if you do wish to speak, at some point in time, we will need you to fill out the half sheet of paper to address the commission. And there is extras either outside or right in front of Ms. Harris over there. So that needs to be done. Steve will present, and then we also give time to the applicant to present, and then once we move into the public portion of it, we do limit testimony to 3 minutes. We typically do not do a back and forth question deal, so tell us what your comments are. If we feel appropriate or we can address them, we will, but we just get your comments out in those 3 minutes. I think Katie will probably be keeping the time, and she's very good about giving you a little heads up so that we're not just cutting you off at 3 minutes, you know that it's coming. Is that sufficient for you?
Yes, sir. Thank you. And the applicant, as per the commission guidelines, has 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Which we will likewise keep time of.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman, open the public hearing.
Yes. Yes. Follow the script. Open the public hearing. Steve, agenda item 8.3. This is an amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 planned area development.
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, good evening. This is a PAD amendment for about a 16-acre parcel in Palm Valley Phase 5. This is the parcel right here. We have Falcon Park, Bullard Wash, Indian School Road, Falcon Drive right here. So for setting our scene here, this is the property right here within Palm Valley Phase 5. Now this looks at the zoning that was adopted in 2003 for Phase 5. And that area was south of Charles, almost to Saraville, north of Indian School to the Wash. And this is the parcel right here. It was designated in 2003, parcel 23. And you can see it has a designation of, it's the URH, that's high density residential in the Palm Valley plan. And this just goes to show you the overall Palm Valley master plan. This is from 2008. And we're right here, this parcel right here. And again, this 2008 master plan picks up what happened in 2003. And here's that parcel, this pinkish color here, the high density residential. Palm Valley plan shows that going all the way up to 25 dwelling units per acre, but at the time of zoning, density was capped at 18 units per acre. So that's the max density for this parcel. And with that density came about 288 units. And back in 2007, there was a site plan that was approved. It's called Harmony at Goodyear, and it was for the 288 units. Access right here off of Falcon. Here is Indian School Road. There's a drainage channel here. Then here's the park that kind of wraps around the east and the north. You can see it was 2-story buildings, kind of wrapping around the site, and a pool amenity here. In 2007, the site plan did get approved, but with the recession, the site was never developed, so this plan never moved forward. And then the site plan did expire. So any new development plan for this site would require, even though they're zoning, they would have to come in for site plan approval. However, before coming in for site plan approval, the current developer did look at this site. They did want to make several changes to the PAD standards for this site. They have a development model that they would like to recreate right here. So they had 5 changes to the Palm Valley PAD that they wanted to move forward with. Though I should note that the modifications do not affect the density. We're still capped at the 18 and the 288 units. The first one is to the height. And right now, the existing condition is 30 feet for the roof, and then 35 feet for parapet, wall, architectural features, and occupied elements. What they would like to go to is 37 feet for the roof, and then up to 45 feet for those parapet walls and occupied elements. So this is kind of a conceptual drawing of what they would do. 3 stories. Top of the roof for the 3rd story, about 35 or so feet. And then you can see as we go up to about 43-ish feet for the top of the towers. So basically the roof line's about here. And the reason they're requesting this additional height, they would like to put additional insulation in between floors. And then these top floors, part of their development model is they provide taller ceilings. And you can see here, you kind of have that taller window. So the 3rd floor, they like to provide a volume ceiling. So the request for the additional height. And this is some renderings provided showing, this is looking north from Indian School Road, existing condition, and then the proposed condition at the 3 stories and 45 feet. This is looking south from Westview Drive, again showing the existing condition and then what you would see upon development. Next request was for a setback. Current city setback is 20% of the lot depth. With this lot over 1,000 feet in depth, approximately 1150, we'd be looking at about a 230-foot setback. So I've kind of placed some lines on here. This is where, according to current code, that if you read it strictly, this is where the setback line would start. No buildings within this area here. What we have is a request to drop that setback to 30 feet, which would be here, and what's envisioned by this plan, showing it at that 30-foot setback. And with this request, they're looking at providing a setback more consistent with what's been done in Goodyear prior. We do not apply this 20-foot setback. Typically, you'll see a setback of about 30 feet when you're adjacent to open space. If you're adjacent to single family, you'll usually set back a larger setback, about 50 to 100 feet. So in this instance, since this property line and even the north property line, it's not adjacent to any single family lots, they went down to 30 feet. I apologize, this is moving on me.
Laney, can we maybe reset the PowerPoint?
it is.
Great, thank you, Laney. Okay, here we go. So we're looking at the 30-foot setback request with this PAD amendment. One of the next modifications they'd like to do, existing conditions, existing standards require all multifamily units to have a patio, private patio, 60 square feet with no dimension less than 6 feet. And I kind of outlined, this is a floor plan for, a conceptual floor plan for their development. And you can see here is their patio area. What they would like to do would be to go down to a minimum of 45 square feet with a minimum dimension of 5 feet. What that would allow them to do would be to, on the first floor, maintain about 100 square foot outdoor patio. Upper levels, second and third floors, those would range from 45 to about 57 square feet, with an average for the overall community maintaining 60, but allows them to recreate that development model that worked for them at this location in Goodyear. So that would be a reduction down to 45 square feet. The next request is the zoning back in 2003 required a 30-foot landscape setback along our north side of Indian School Road. So, and what they would like to do would be place some of their recreational amenities within this setback area. They've got a half-court, tot lot dog park that they would like to propose within this area. And then the last request for those amenities, the lighting code states that light poles within 30 foot of residential property line should be no higher than 6 feet. What they would like to do would be to go up to 15 feet for light poles for those amenities in this area right here. And in looking at all of the requests, the 5 requests that are before you tonight, looking at the building height, what staff is looking at is a site that is zoned for multifamily, 288 units, was deemed compatible with the area and consistent with the general plan back in 2003. What we look at again is, does anything with this PAD amendment affect the general plan or affect that compatibility? And we look and we see that the site does maintain those buffers that in 2003 were present, the landscape area, city park that wraps around. And then we have the buffers of Falcon and Indian School that separate this site from other adjacent residential communities. We look at those separations also with placing the recreational amenities and the lighting in this area. We do not see any impact to any areas. We're looking at about an 80-foot buffer for this drainage channel here, and then about 130 feet at least of right-of-way for Indian School before you reach any other lots. And then with the recommendation for the balconies, that's more of an internal piece. They are providing additional open space and amenities over what would be required by our code. A couple pools, large amenity recreation center here, clubhouse. They'll have the outdoor recreational amenities here, kind of an exercise trail around the development. So we were looking at a provision of open space and amenities that exceeded our minimum requirements for our code. And then with the setback, we did find it consistent with the other setbacks conditions in the city where we had multifamily buildings that were not directly adjacent to single family. If adjacent to single family, again, like I said before, we would require a larger setback. But since we are adjacent to Falcon Park here, there are no neighbors back here, the 30-foot setback seemed appropriate. We did have a neighborhood meeting held back in November. About 12 residents from the surrounding area did attend the meeting. As outlined in the staff report, some of the major concerns they had was the use of the property for multifamily, traffic in the area that would result from this development, as well as the additional height that was being requested for this building. And I provide this map just to show you, as part of our notice for the neighborhood meeting, as well as these public hearings, we send out a mailer 500 feet from the property here. And these are the properties that were tagged with a notice. And you can see it went out several streets surrounding the property. We also noticed the school districts, Luke Air Force Base, Phoenix, Goodyear, City of Litchfield Park, as well as the HOAs for Palm Valley and Pebble Creek. Because it is a public hearing, we also place a notice sign on the property and put our legal ad in the paper. As a result of those notices, staff did receive several calls, 3 emails, 3 phone calls, majority opposed to this request before you tonight. Staff has reviewed the P80 amendment. Again, like I said before, we review it for continued conformance with the general plan, compatibility with the surrounding area. And looking at this request and looking at the buffers and the impacts it would have to the surrounding area, we are recommending approval of the request. We do find it in conformance with the general plan and compatible with the surrounding area, as stipulated in the draft ordinance 2018-1417. So, Mr. Chairman, that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Steve. I just want to recap it and make sure we're here on the same page here. Multifamily housing was approved a long time ago already for this piece of property. And so the question before the commission really is these 5 stipulations you've outlined: height of the building, setback, patio size, amenities in the setback on Indian School, and then the height of the light post. Correct?
Correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Any questions for Steve? Perfect. We will move.
No, that was a
Oh,
I
I'm
had one
sorry.
question.
You usually don't have any questions.
Well,
Commissioner Barnes.
it wasn't a cell tower, so I could see why you'd be confused. The request for the additional height, how does that compare with other multifamily projects in the area?
Mr. Chairman, Commission members, multifamily in the area. This is a villa here. This is, as we know, this is a 1-story product. This plan that was approved here, that was approved at 30 feet with the parapets that could go up to 35 feet. The most recent multifamily developments that have come in, well, let me back up. There is another apartment complex further west from here that was also would have been built at the 30-foot with the 35-foot for parapets.
Isn't there a multi-story right here next to the high school?
This, yes, sir. This is
I know it's
good
the,
retirement residence.
What's the height?
For reference purposes, that was allowed up to 50. It was built at about 47 feet.
So that's 47 feet total?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Commissioner Barnes?
Yeah, I just wanted to see how it compared to other multifamily in the area.
Any other questions for Steve at this time? All right. You said the applicant is present, and I think they brought a whole team. Welcome. I don't know if you heard, but 10 minutes, so however you want to collaborate, work together. Name and addresses for the record, please.
Absolutely. I'm Susan Demmett with Gamage and Burnham, and I'm here tonight on behalf of Housing Trust Group, the proposed developer. I'm going to make just a couple very quick introductory remarks and turn this over to Jose Romero with Housing Trust Group to go through the details of the project, the amendment, and to talk a little bit about the prototype that they have developed and that's now occupied in the city of Mesa. Just to focus on and reiterate a couple of things that Steve said that I think you've already focused on. The existing zoning on this site is MF18. I mean, that's what it's allowed to develop at that density. So 18 units per the acre, a maximum of 288 units. 3 stories is allowed under the current zoning. We are not proposing to change any of those core development standards. We have the 5 development standard modifications that have been requested with the PAD amendment. They are all intended to accommodate both specific design elements for this prototype community, which we perceive to be architectural or community enhancements for the project. A quick note on the adjacent projects and other height amendments that have been approved recently. Steve did talk about the senior living community on the other side of Falcon Park that is allowed up to a 47-foot height. You also have approved in the last few years the Live Goodyear project and another one called Goodyear 145 that were also processed as PAD amendments, similar 3-story apartment communities with heights in the same range that we're asking for tonight. And Jose's got some graphics and photos that he'll show you. So I'm going to turn it over to him. One just final comment, we are in agreement with all the stipulations that staff have proposed for this case, so we have no requested changes to the stipulations. Take it away.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Chair and Commissioners. Again, we do accept staff's recommendation stipulations. My name is Jose Romero. I'm with Housing Trust Group, address 2660 Southwest 23rd Street, Miami, Florida. So our community, we have already built one of these prototypes in Mesa, and what we are replicating here in Goodyear and enhancing, we're actually going to increase the size of the fitness areas and some of the amenities to actually make them even more luxurious on this go-around. We are focused on the central amenity corridor that's incredibly walkable and has been a huge, huge success. In Mesa, we were able to lease up the entire project in 7 months at the highest rents in the area, and that set a new record for Mark Taylor for the last 30 years. We've been selected, and we'll go over it, but selected as a top garden project in the country. We'll find out in February if the National Association of Home Builders, but we've been selected as one of 3 finalists. We have a top online reputation score, top 1% in the country for this product. Our staff's amazing, and we really look forward to creating more projects, and we've been looking at enhancing this. There's a view from the patio of our clubhouse looking out to the long pool and the cabana beds. This is an interior view of our clubhouse. Our large fitness center, which will actually be even larger here in Goodyear. Our internal view has quartz countertops, energy efficient appliances, national green building standards accreditation. This is a view of the actual basketball court and dog park that we're going to be talking about in a little bit. That also shows the wall that kind of blocks it from the future Indian School. It has an agility course. We've got, with 300 units, we right now have over 100 pets at ours, which is significantly greater than most other communities, and a lot of it has to do that our dog park is about 4 to 5 times the size of any dog park at other communities. This talks a little bit about our award potential, and we were already selected for that online reputation score. They looked at the top 10 communities here in the Phoenix, Mesa, Scottsdale metropolitan statistical area. This shows the height that we're talking about. On the right side shows the 39 foot up to the 45 feet. What this really allows us to do is basically 3 things. The first is that it allows additional soundproofing between floors. For National Green Building Standards, that's huge. It really lets us go after that accreditation. At the 30-foot height, the trusses that you use between floors are just different. And as a result, you can't put as much insulation between. which means that there's more sound transmission as well between residents. Second thing it allows is the vaulted ceilings, as they said. These are very highly sought after at our community. We are 98% leased right now, and no other community in the Mark Taylor portfolio, and they've got like 45 communities, is anywhere near that number right now. And then the last thing is the architectural elements. So again, it's mainly focused on that amenity corridor. You don't see it as much on the exterior. It's mainly for the view of our residents and kept internal. This shows what, using the normal development standards, a 3-story building using those heights, what the line of sight would be from the residences, both Indian School Road and from Westview Drive. In both cases, the actual line of sight for our Aviva product, mainly because it's concentrated on the inside and the buildings are interior, our product actually looks to the outside world as if it's 2-story. And I'll show that in a minute. Had we built it with the normal standard, which I think the previous site plan that had been submitted for this would have been built, it would have appeared larger than Aviva will actually appear to the community. As Steve showed, this was kind of what we expect for the before and after. This is from Indian School Road, and what you're seeing here is the 3-story garden product at 45 feet, and it is to scale. And this is actually this 2-story product. So our 3-story buildings are actually hidden from our loft buildings here. So our loft buildings are only 2 feet and are actually shorter than the houses across the street. You can't even tell where our 3-story buildings are in this rendering. This is an interior view from our fire pit on the northern half. And again, as you look at this and the differences in height, they're a little bit imperceptible, even from when you're right next to it. So there's 8 feet of difference between my towers and the others, but what it does do, as you can tell, gives it a lot of 3D activity, and that's really important to us. There were 2 things that came up at our neighborhood meeting, and I wanted to address both of them, and I had committed to doing a traffic study. We have that traffic study completed and will be submitted with our site plan. Effectively, there's no significant change expected for traffic before or after our development is put in place. The levels of service do not change on the street, and during peak hours, the effective number of cars is basically 1 every 45 seconds. So we have that. We will submit that with our site plan. The other one was noise. So again, we put the more active amenities along Indian School, and we also add the concrete wall between Indian School, and effectively that buffers those sounds. So a playground.
1 minute.
Thank you. A playground and an average street, both are about 80. After accounting for the 2 masonry walls, so Aviva's and the residents on the south side of Indian School, it would be imperceptible. In fact, the Indian School, even if there were no cars on it, you would not be able to hear the activity of our playground. With that, I conclude my presentation, and I'm really happy to take any questions, and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there any questions for the applicant at this time?
I had one question in regards to the driveway entrance to the park. I wasn't sure if Aviva was going to be connected to the Falcon Park.
It's an emergency access only.
It's emergency access only. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions at this time for the applicant? Any questions for staff? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We will move into the public hearing portion. Again, I have 3 cards here with me. Anybody is welcome to speak. I just need to make sure you either fill out before or after with Heather so that we have it on the record. Please forgive me if I butcher your names. Some of you may actually be doctors, but we'll start with Gail. Gail Tolliver. You have very nice handwriting, by the way.
Thank you. I'm a designer, so I know a little bit about it. My name is
address, and you have 3 minutes.
Tolliver, and I live at 15302 West Roma Avenue. I was not one of the lucky ones that received one of those little handouts that you sent out, but I feel like I'm impacted anyway. I purchased my home and had it built in 2007, understanding fully that that parcel was going to be multifamily. Stupidly, I thought it was going to be like all of the other apartments around us, not the retirement community, which I don't consider that something that would be like an apartment complex or multifamily. That's its own individual thing. But looking at Aldea, which is to the west of us, lovely integrated 2-story apartment complexes that are wonderfully integrated into what is a residential area. The tallest building that we have are 2-story houses. So what we have always enjoyed have been the views, which will be obliterated. I know how you can change viewpoints on your renderings so that it looks like it's not going to be impactful at all, and that's not really true. So I'm curious, first of all, just in a general sense, if the developer, where do they live and would they want this parked in their area? I guess it works really well in Mesa, but we're in Goodyear. So what works in Mesa may not work for us. I just feel really disturbed by the fact that they're trying to even jack up the height even more. I wrote down exactly what this young lady said behind me. She said, because it's allowed, so does that mean just because it's allowed we have to go to 3 stories? Or can we look at a 2-story, which would be in keeping with the other apartment complexes and townhomes? I would be welcome to tour anyone around our area to see what we have and to see how it's integrated in nicely. So this 3-story is disturbing for us, for those of us, so that's probably why you see quite a few of us here. We knew it was going to be multifamily. That's not where we're having the heartburn. The heartburn is on the height. And the fact that you're at 3 stories and then you want to go even higher is even more disturbing to us, for those of us that live in that area and have since one of the earlier residents of, living in Mazzari Cove. So that's really disturbing for me. The other thing, the traffic study, which I'm sorry, I just had to just laugh outright at that. Okay, because I don't know what fantasy land we're in to think that that's not going to impact morning traffic. If you, I literally can, you can hang out with me for a morning and just watch what the traffic is like, even when we added that 1-story community. So the fact that we're adding 288 units or whatever the number is, and that's not going to impact rush hour, that's just not even, I'm just not even going to
30 seconds
address that. So the curb appeal, I love view fences. It looks like we're going to have these lovely walls. It's great for the Aviva people. They're going to have wonderful, great views. 3 stories, great. They can see mountains, but for those of us who live there, not so great. So it maybe works in Mesa. Don't really think it's going to work for us. That's all I have for now. I will be back.
Thank you, Gail. While I appreciate the enthusiasm, if we could keep that to a minimum, it'd be appreciated. Lucy is next.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning and Zoning Commission, I'm Lucy Rayness. I live at 15509 West Meadowbrook Avenue in Goodyear, 85395. And I have to agree with the lady that just spoke. There's a couple of things here. The last 2 approval zones called for 2-story building with a 288 lot. I do not understand why we can't keep to that and remain the integrity and the views that we have in our community. We do not need almost a 45-foot tower to block the views. And the other thing that's different is that in the original two plans, the parking was for 553 cars. And what has happened with this new rendering, it's now up to 602, which is a 50 plus more cars that are going to be impacting the traffic pattern. Now, I agree that and I drive Falcon every day and the traffic report he just gave does not make any sense at all. If you live in this area, you know how much traffic we gain just from the Palm Valley villas that were just recently approved. The safety of our community is one of my major concerns, and to overload that Falcon Drive does not seem in the best interest of our community and our members. And as I look at the staff report and I see the fire and the police response time, I have to ask, when was that done? What numbers were used? Have they included the original addition of the Palm Valley, which was added? Now, Mesa can have whatever view they want, but this is Goodyear. And as a native in Arizona, we appreciate our views and our community, our sense of community, and for someone to just decide that this is
30
what
seconds.
we need. We ask you to reconsider your proposal and show us, because there is nothing in the agenda that came out with all the reports about the traffic from the developer and where he got his information from. And I see that you are on the list to approve this today without any of us seeing what those results are, and certainly not in the public record.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Rayness, you are up.
Evening. I'm Joel Rayness, 15509 West Meadowbrook Avenue, Goodyear, Arizona. They showed pictures up here of the new development, but I'd like to know the amenities setback. How far is it from Indian School Road? And is the community completely walled off? The basketball court, the dog park, that is hopefully behind a fence? Okay, good. Now, I haven't seen any pictures or diagrams of the egress from Palm Valley Village and Aviva. And if you look at that, what is shown, all these people trying to get in or out of both apartment complexes, because right now, when I drive by in the morning, I've had people pull out in front of me because they're eager to get to work or the coffee shop, whatever. And you have to be very careful there. There's a lot of people putting a lot of cars in a very small area, and they're in a hurry. So if you guys could, you're supposed to be on our side, our safety. I'd appreciate it if you do it. Thank you.
Is there, I do not have any further speaker cards. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to address? Okay, so obviously, I don't think we have an online system for comments, do we? No, we don't have an on. You may have registered a complaint through the system, but we don't have an online. That's interesting. And that we're not even aware of that system. Okay, yeah. Well, just fill out the paper.
Still allowed to speak regardless.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, sir.
Okay.
Name
Yes.
and address, and then when you're done, just fill that out. Please.
Yes, sir. Okay. Thanks for giving me a few minutes. Rob Larson here with my wife Tracy, 4225 North 150th Avenue, Goodyear 85395. all the way from Florida. That's pretty nice of them. But something like this, if we're on the coast of Jamaica in the beach, seems kind of nice. But you see where this is going. It's going right in the middle of a bunch of single-family homes. If you live there, I don't know if you do, if you lived in the area, you would be totally opposed to it. Everybody keeps talking about the height. It's not the heights, it's the traffic. It's the school down the street. People don't realize when you go out in the morning, everybody's taking their kids to school, and no one's brought that up. This plan doesn't make any sense where it's at. If you go further west, where the 303 is, there's all kinds of desert out there. This will look real nice out there, and you see everything that they're building out there. But if you guys lived where we live, it just doesn't make sense. You're trying to cram this into that single-family home, and it's just, I mean, look at it. It should be at the Caribbean, right? And it just doesn't make sense. And safety is a big part of it, too. We moved out here at Goodyear. We're very proud of Goodyear, very proud of Goodyear. And you bring stuff like this, like everybody says, it's Mesa. He's saying Mesa this, Mesa that. But this is Goodyear, and we take things a little different. You know, we like to see our views and things like that. So safety is a concern. The school down the street is a concern. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Just fill out your card there. Sir, name and address for the record, and then when you're done, if you'll fill out one of those cards as well, please.
Okay, first, thank you. My name's Mike Mitchell. My address is 4527 North 154th Avenue. I've also lived in the community since 2006, and I've been a member of the HOA in our community for quite some time, and I was a member of the HOA before I moved to this community. So I have a lot of insights on what's happened to the community here recently. So I just want to read a few things from the site development plans that when Palm Valley Phase 5 was put together, this is what it comes. I'm reading and quoting. Site massing 4.2.3 in the development of Palm Valley Phase 5's two-story homes are discouraged on any corner lots. We couldn't even put a corner lot up when the buildings were built. And the reason for that was both for sites, visual, as well as safety. And now we're talking about putting a giant one on the corner on heavy traffic congestions and a very busy arterial. Next, likewise, all multifamily areas in the outside corner should be lower with single-story elements. And we're already trying to overlook that and put that into here when we can't do it ourselves. Builders should encourage privacy as much as possible. Avoid creating tall structures where occupants may directly look into the backyard or oversee their neighboring properties. That's exactly what we're talking about here. And when the building was designed and we moved in there, we all moved in there with the understanding this is a residential community that is designed for single-story family living with 2 stories at the max. I think most of us knew that. They spoke of the building height, goes in there. It's 30 feet, 3.76 speaks to the building height in the area. I know we have others they spoke of, but such as the retirement community, even when that went up, there are no adjacent properties other than the school. Next, under the Palm Valley CC&R change and the adoption of land uses and change, I just want to note this. Any land uses and change must be adopted by the boards and provided such new use shall be in the benefit of the owners and residents. This is not in the benefit of the residents and the owners in that community. It's the business. It's in the best interest of the developers, not us. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further comments from the public? Yes, ma'am. I got you next. Name and address, please.
Deborah Kiphart. I live at 15332 West Montecito Avenue. And we have a 2-story, so I can actually see the corner that we're talking about. And I drive every day onto 152nd Avenue and then take the left at the stop sign on Falcon. That partial edge of Falcon is very short. And I already, when I'm leaving for work, have to wait through one light to go through with traffic. So it's already with the new homes that have been built in there for multiple families, I guess. We've seen a lot of more traffic going on 152nd Avenue, and it's going a lot faster. I'm worried about the kids. There's a school about a football field away from the corner of Falcon and 152nd Avenue. and traffic already is slow there. It doesn't go through. 152nd Avenue goes up to Camelback. It's the only street that I know of between Litchfield and almost the 303 that goes through. So more people are taking that already that don't live in the area. So it's not just residents who drive through there already. So we're having a problem with the height because I'm also a real estate broker, so I know real estate. The area cannot handle 3 stories. I thought it was 5 stories when I came in, and then it's 3 stories, but even 2 stories maybe, but coming out on Falcon will not work for the exits. That's it.
Thank you. Yes, please fill out a request to speak form. Ma'am, yes, you. Then was there somebody else that saw a hand up over here? I'll take you next, ma'am, in the door, and then you, sir, right after that.
My name is Carol Brum, 3984 North 150th Lane. I'm a Pebble Creek resident. The entrance that I have to where I live in Pebble Creek is Falcon Drive and Indian School. I just want to give you a little different viewpoint, okay? Personally, that's a small piece of property. Okay, we do not need a huge complex there. We don't need another apartment complex at all there, okay? Especially when their little one is right across the street. I would like to say that I'm hoping all of you are aware of the fact that we seem to be turning our bedroom community into a transient community with the great number of apartment complexes that are now being built in Goodyear. Many of them north of 10, but you're now building some south of 10 too around Van Buren. It's unbelievable, really unbelievable. And I think somebody needs to take a long, hard look at that and maybe not go too far. Obviously, more transient, more crime rate. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Will you just make sure to fill out a speaker's card, please?
Oh,
Thank you. Ma'am, you in the doorway. And then I got you back by the window, and then you're on deck. We'll keep this straight, trust me.
Erica Bice, and it's 151st, or 4464 at 151st. And when I first moved here 20 years ago from California, I was glad to get away from the bad planning and overfilled communities, and I got to the most amazing planned community I have ever seen with Palm Valley. But in the last few years, we're changing that. We are building homes on a golf course, and we are building 3-story properties, as everybody has mentioned. And, you know, face it, the developer is saying that, hey, we're bringing an urban environment to Goodyear. However, if we wanted that, we would go to Tempe, we would go to Scottsdale, we would go downtown. We want to maintain our bedroom community, to quote again the developer. So I definitely agree that the height will stick out. That assisted living was not originally planned for our development. It got a variance. It never should have. It never should have been 47 feet. Let's not do it again. Adding a Caribbean theme near a high school. The last time I had apartments near a high school, it was a party place. It was not good for the students. I mean, that is walking distance from our Millennium High School. That is not a good thing. And so I just want to close again. If I wanted an urban environment, I'd go back to California or I would go downtown. So we need to, like all these people said, we need to maintain Goodyear so people still want to come and live here. Thank you.
Sir, back by the window, you're up.
My name is Jim Smart, 15338 West Montecito Avenue. My concern is the traffic and the way Falcon is now. With the schools, Millennium High School in the morning, it's a nightmare. They have changed the signals a little bit to help traffic there, but with the Maple Pageant, the amount of room you have from Indian School to the entrance of this, the only entrance and exit to this complex, as it looks like, there's not going to be room for any stop signs, stop lights, no control of traffic whatsoever. The only thing that controls the traffic semi is the median now, but all of that, Falcon's going to have to change I don't know. Does Falcon have plans to go all the way through to Camelback? Is that part of the city plans? Like you change Saraville or Australia Parkway to reroute by the UPS building that just went up along the 303? Does anybody know that? Do you have?
We don't have that. We can get you the answer, but.
So, I mean, I don't see how you're going to widen Falcon to hold 600 more tenants coming in and out of that complex with the tenants that you've added across the street. The height, like the other gentleman said, the old folks home or the care center, 47 feet. There's nothing else around it. There's a wash behind it. There's a shopping center across the street from it in Millennium High School. My concern is the traffic and the safety of the children in our neighborhoods. And again, the 3 stories I don't believe belongs. You have them around the Westgate area, or not Westgate, but the area that's being developed, Australia, if that's ever going to happen. Shopping center area where the Harkins Theater is. But I would need to see more current traffic study and more defined traffic pattern for entrance and exit for the whole community. It's just cut off way too much the way it is now. I don't see it happening with this many units. And there's no public transportation coming out this far. You know?
30 seconds.
Think about it. Thanks.
Make sure you fill out a speaker's card, sir. Thank you. Ma'am?
Leah Hudson, 15315 West Campbell Avenue in Goodyear, 85395. Again, I live just north of this, and I didn't get a flyer either. I guess I was just past the boundary. But 3 stories are going to stick out like a sore thumb. The retirement community, that's the assisted living complex, that's 3 stories. Anywhere you're around, you look over, and it sticks out all by itself. There's nothing else. We're a bunch of single 2 stories. And everyone likes it like that. Again, the traffic, there's the new apartments, the single stories that'll be right across Falcon from this. I know there's a median on Falcon right there. I'm not sure where the driveway is going to be, how that's going to be affected. But even, I think it's 152nd Street, the one that goes through to Camelback. People trying to get out on Indian School, they make a left on Falcon, that backs way up. And that's just the few cars that are coming out of there. Imagine an apartment complex of, what did they say, 600 parking spots? Everyone trying to make a left on Falcon, in addition to all the cars. I deal with the elementary school traffic every morning. There are so many cars fighting to get in and out of there. All the cars exiting from dropping off for school, plus everyone trying to get to work, leaving the apartment complex. It's just going to be a mess. And I agree with everyone else here. It's not the right situation for our environment here. And we like our community how it is. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll take you, sir, on the right, and then we'll move right along there. You're next, and then you're on deck.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank all of my neighbors who probably articulated this better than I can. We're pretty new to the neighborhood. My name is Greg Wallace, 15317 West Montecito Avenue. I'm also on the south side of Montecito. We didn't get a notice or a flyer. Luckily, our neighbors posted something on the mailbox, but we feel it impacts us. Our view opens up to the mountains, and we really, we bought the property because we love the view that we see in the morning of the mountains. We have a young family. My daughter's at Western Sky Elementary. We walk to the park. We walk to the elementary school with her a lot. So obviously the first thing we thought of was our view, our privacy, and the crime that could possibly increase with this structure. So that's all we have to say. We love our view, we love our neighborhood, and we just when we bought, we really hoped that it would stay the same, obviously, and we love it here. We don't want it to change. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name is John Field. I live at 17502 West Wandering Creek Road in Goodyear, Arizona. And I guess I just couldn't sit back there. One of my mentors told me to not sit in silent dissent. And I was kind of hoping more people would come up and take the other side. And so I just wanted to offer another opinion before we close the issue down. When I first moved to Goodyear, we lived in near the Safeway there on Estrella Parkway, and my children were lucky enough to go up to Mabel Pageant. I feel like it's one of the best schools I've ever seen, definitely one of the best run schools I've ever seen, but the faculty and staff are just amazing, and I wish more people would have the opportunity to be able to do that. The parental support, everything that Goodyear has to offer, I think we should be sharing our community and our amenities, and I understand where these neighbors of mine are in the immediate vicinity of what's going on there. And I understand their concerns and I empathize with that, but I feel like we do have a beautiful community. Growing's inevitable. Phoenix, Tempe, LA, like they said, are all overflowing. They've got to go somewhere. And this is a beautiful option. This is not a transient type community. This is a community I personally can't afford myself probably. And these are going to be wonderful families moving in here and taking advantage of our community. I would warn you though, you need to build some restaurants to be able to feed these people. And so keep that in mind. These are going to be our teachers, our service providers, our wonderful working community. This is going to be the salt of Goodyear moving in here, and I just hope that we can appreciate that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Young man?
Good afternoon. My name is Tyler Phobes. I live 15068 West Glen Rosa Avenue, 85395. I go to Western Sky Middle School, and my concern is where these kids that might live here will go to school. Now, there are 3 schools in our area: Mabel Pageant, Western Sky Middle School, and Millennium High School. And right now at our school, in my class, I take honors classes. We have around 47 kids in our class. And there are about 5 classes in each of our pods, and there are 2 pods for each grade. Now, that's around 150 kids. Now, if you multiply 150 by 6, that's around 1,000 kids. Now, in the addition with this height, that will allow more people to come into the apartment complexes, and I'm just wondering where they'll go, because our classes are practically full. And that's all I have.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public at this time? Nobody? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Daniela Isbell. I live on 4574 North 151st Drive. I drive by Falcon Drive every day too. And in the morning when I leave my home and Millennium High School starts, Indian School Road is already backed up at the left turn signal. If we are adding 600 cars in the morning to that traffic, then I wonder what's going to happen next, because on a regular basis there are accidents on that intersection of Indian School Road and Wigwam Boulevard. That is the left turn signal that's backed up in the morning when Millennium starts. So my concern is the traffic on Falcon Drive and also the security of that intersection, Indian School Road and Wigwam Boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Make sure you fill out a speaker's card, please. Any other comments? I'll take you right there in the back, and then you're on deck, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Carrie Strand. I live at 15068 West Glen Rosa Avenue. That was my son. A couple things I want to add to him, what he had mentioned. It is really concerning with this additional traffic. We have friends that live just right across the street on Falcon. I won't even let him go across that street right now on his bike. These people fly down there. And again, his bus stop, where they kind of go, that's the direct outlet to get over to Camelback to the 303. When we first moved into these places, we've been in there for 5 years now, the traffic wasn't like this. And it's fine to have a two-story. We're okay with that. We understand that people need somewhere to go. We can't have 3, almost 4 feet tall in there. That just ruins the aesthetics of our entire neighborhood, which is why we moved over there. A couple of things that I wanted to mention after hearing them talk. I know it was brought up about the gated access to Falcon. I was just on their website this evening, and it says right on their website that they're pretty proud of having gated access to the park right there. So I'm just wondering what really the truth lies as far as is that going to be in addition for them to just have access to the park that APS just put all this money into for all of our community to use, not just for their access. Another thing that I looked up today too, as a real estate agent, I've looked up what happens to our property values when we have this dense population come in here. Statistically, it's proven that our property values go down 13.8%. We just recovered from an economy. We'd like to keep our interest in our homes and continue to have it, see it grow. Just my couple of cents. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, or good afternoon, Chairman and committee. My name is Debbie Crable. I live at 15317 West Sells. I happen to be just a little further north than the notifications that went out. And yes, thank you to whoever posted it on the mailboxes. I just wanted to reiterate that yes, 2 stories, we expected that to happen. We did not expect a 3-story building to be propped up, which would obstruct our wonderful view of South Mountain area. So yes, views are important, but there's a reason why we have limitations for structures and additional buildings being put in our community. We have so many resources, utilities, shopping, additional resources such as the schools that the young man mentioned. And can we really impact that much infrastructure with this many people? Many people have mentioned the traffic issues. I also get out on Falcon onto Indian School, and yes, I sit through more than one light on a regular basis because the light isn't long enough and there's more traffic than what can be accommodated in that intersection. In addition to views, to traffic, my grandchildren go to Maple Pageant School. I am concerned for their safety as people are zipping through our neighborhoods. So that is also very important. Also, having that many people in a small amount of space impacts privacy, noise pollution, light pollution, and they want to raise the lights to get a little less stargazing happening. So yes, it's a huge impact on our resources. We would like to see that limited. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Yes, sir.
Hey, my name is Dominic Passio. I live at 15162 West Roma Ave in Goodyear, Arizona, 85395. I actually agree with everybody here except for that one individual. Obviously, it's zoned for high density. We probably can't change that, but we can change the height and make sure that it's not an eyesore for the residents. Also, the traffic issue right there by Falcon, that is going to be a accident heaven because it seems like it's only 300 feet from the intersection. Correct me if I'm wrong. Am I right or am I wrong? Your inlet outlet's about 300 feet from the intersection. Okay. So if it is that way and you're trying to do it into a double lane, you're already stuffing 2 lanes into basically a single lane road. So I would like to see how that's going to turn out. Also, I'd like to point out that the traffic is that 152nd, which runs in between Palm Valley right there, the Phase 5, is already a traffic nightmare. People use that to go from Indian School to Camelback all the time. They run the stop sign, they do a lot of stuff. Obviously, that's not your consideration, but that's stuff that the residents there have to deal with. So if you guys can, please consider the traffic hugely when you guys go ahead and then approve this. I would greatly appreciate it. Also for the height requirement, because I am one of the individuals that will actually see this looking out my window, and it's not something I would really like to see. I've been here about 10 years, so I really like Goodyear. I moved here. I could have chose Surprise. I could have went out to, what is that, Buckeye, Avondale. No, I chose Goodyear because of the family values and everything that Goodyear offers and the great schools, which is Maple Pageant, where my daughter attends right now. So I'm really looking forward to you guys, your decision on this. I'd just like to see on how we proceed and if maybe we can get an actual traffic study that's worth something. I'd appreciate it. And if you can, again, please, traffic is a major deal. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments from the public? Going once, twice. Okay, you might, we'll leave it open a little bit. We are very fortunate to have with us our engineer from the city. She has been with us all night long and makes special guest appearances. I actually would like to have you just discuss as much as possible the traffic situation, how you look at it, what your professional opinion is, and after hearing it, is there more that we could put in staff stipulations to maybe ease the concerns of the residents? And before you start, if we could get the PowerPoint, Steve's PowerPoint, and go to the map where he kind of overlaid the project on Indian School. I think it's like the third slide.
Well, while we're waiting for that, thank you, Chairman and Commissioners. Rebecca Zook, Engineering Director for the City of Goodyear, and I'm very pleased to be here this evening, and I appreciate all the comments that we've heard from both staff as well as the customer and our citizens. And what I want to make sure that everyone understands at this point, and it might have been confused when the customer mentioned about a traffic study, we have not had an opportunity to review a traffic study for this development at this time because we're in a zoning case and it is already zoned for 288 units. And at this point, a traffic study wouldn't be required. It won't be required until it moves into site plan. Okay. But at this point, what I can tell you is in 2007 or 2008, when that site plan came forward, we would have reviewed a traffic study, and we will again review a traffic study with all of the new developments in the area and the existing conditions. And I appreciate all the comments that I've heard tonight because it does make it very critical for us when we do review these. We'll look at the signal, the timing, the stop sign to the north, the three-way intersection. We'll look at all of that information when we look at the traffic impact analysis. That will be from my group. We have a traffic group with a traffic engineer, assistant traffic engineer, and we'll look at all that information and we'll review it to meet all of our standards at the city.
Perfect. Any questions for the engineer at this time? So this is a technical question either to Katie or Chris. We're considering these PAD amendments and then as the engineer would come back and they would look at for a site plan. So that would be another, we would review that again, planning and zoning, or the site plan stays. If I got to refresh me on this.
Thank you, Chairman. The site plan is an administrative review and approval. You may remember there are some rezoning cases that may have a traffic study associated with them. This one did not because it was not a change in land use. It was a change to the development standards, which cannot increase the total number of dwelling units that are allowed. There was a previous site plan that might have had a certain number of dwelling units, but again, the proposed zoning tonight does not increase the maximum number of units that are allowed. And so a traffic study wasn't required at this time. But again, then we would look at it during site plan for site design.
Then you would work with the applicant at that time to address whatever issues come up in the traffic study.
To make sure they meet all city codes and regulations, yes.
Okay. Steve, just because I heard this and I'm sure you have the numbers, the setback from Indian School for those amenities, obviously, it's within the 30-foot setback, but what is the actual setback from Indian School to the amenities? And is there some sort of wall structure around the entire development?
Mr. Chair, I'll try to answer those questions. This is the amenity area that you're looking at. Yes? Correct. Okay. This here would be the 30-foot setback. So these amenities are within the 30-foot landscape setback. That's the request. What you have then would be a block wall running basically probably a 6-foot block wall running along this south boundary. And then you have roughly, it's about 80 feet of that drainage channel that runs along the north side of Indian School Road. And then you hit the right-of-way for Indian School Road. But you have roughly 80 feet here, and then you reach these amenities.
Okay.
And then surrounding the site, that block wall pretty much runs all along here, along the south side. And then here along the park, you're probably looking at wrought iron wrapping around. So the block wall would be here on this side.
Okay. Thank you. And you concur?
Yep.
Okay.
That's correct. So the block wall is mainly to block the noise traffic from Indian School onto a region.
Okay. Thank you. The last thing, and this is really just a technical thing. There was a few things brought up about safety as far as response times and all of that. Katie or Chris, will you just briefly walk through how you work with those, or Steve, whoever, how that process by which you work with our fire department and police department to ensure that we're not overloading them?
Mr. Chair, Commission members, regarding the police response, we are provided with the standard response from police is we can serve this area. We'll let you know if we can't. So in this instance, there was no indication that there is not enough police presence for this beat. Okay. Regarding the fire response, that was done recently within the last few months. It's based off of travel times from to the two fire stations to this site. So it was basically done a few months ago using existing roadways to this site and based off of this plan and where they would gain access.
Okay, thank you. Obviously, I appreciate the comments regarding the school that is way outside of our jurisdiction, so can't help you with the answers there. That lies with the school boards and their decision in the district. So,
Mr. Chairman, Commission, can I make one quick addition?
yes, you can.
Thank you. As part of every development application that comes through the city, there is a internal committee, if you will, that's called the Development Review Committee. And on that organization or board committee sits our sister departments and agencies, such as police, fire, engineering, parks and recreation, and others. And we also work, as Steve alluded to in his presentation, with outside agencies to give them appropriate notice of proposals, such as the school boards, Luke Air Force Base, Phoenix Goodyear Airport, so that any impacts of a proposed project is identified early that can be communicated to the applicant and potentially rectified or mitigated. So it's not unusual for the police department to have the response that they did because they've seen it and didn't have any concerns. So I just want to make sure that everybody is clear that they are part and parcel partner of ours in reviewing development applications, just as fire is, just as the school boards are, things of that nature.
Thank you, Chris, for that clarification. I have a quick question for the applicant. Looking at this map that we're looking at, I guess it wasn't clear to me. Within this product, it's mixed. There's 3 stories and there is 2 stories. Is that correct? And can you kind of just briefly explain that as quick as possible?
Sure. So all the buildings on the outside are 2-story lofts that are actually shorter than the 2-story houses here. And the viewpoints that we've identified from pretty much right here, which is the closest house, and the viewpoints from here, which was pretty much the closest houses to the three-story, are effectively equivalent to a two-story view.
And everything internally is all three-story?
All of this is three-story, that is correct. And most of the tower elements actually occur on the inside of this amenity corridor.
So the inside would be at the 45-foot mark?
Yep. And just to address one other item. Regarding the traffic, we will have a right turn lane for our residents that will have, and again, this will be approved and reviewed by site plan, but that has a queuing distance that's significantly greater than the number of cars that ever show up. So we have a queuing distance, I want to say, of 6 to 8 cars, something like that. And the most that we've encountered is usually about 2.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And this is your last chance from the public. Any final comments from the public? You spoke already, though. You spoke already. Yep, you used your 3 minutes. Anyone else that has not spoken? No, you spoke. Sorry, but nice try. I commend you for thinking outside the box. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Yes, you have 3 minutes. Name and address.
Sorry, I didn't speak earlier. I just noticed this. My name is Eric Johnson. I live at 4497 North 152nd Drive. With that setback that they want to push the property all the way back to that back wall on the east side, it's not going to allow. It's essentially going to separate the parking lot into 2 divisions. So everyone, there's no pass through behind it. So basically, everyone. I'm just wondering if this is going to affect the traffic coming in and out and how that affects things. With in your other community, are residents allowed to drive around the back side of the apartments as well? Was that setback the same?
Yeah, we had the same 30 foot, but we did have what you're asking about is the circulation. We did have circulation around that side.
Okay. So in this case, it would be different. There wouldn't be any ability for people to drive around the back side of the apartments.
Mr. Chairman, we
gonna-
need to have his comments addressed to the commission, and if that's a sidebar later after the meeting, that's fine.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christopher.
Sorry. I'm trying to figure out if that affects safety responses as well, for emergency coming into the apartments, if they're only accessible from one side or the other. Should someone be blocking one side of the parking lot, emergency response is unavailable to get there around the other side of the buildings. So I just don't know if that setback is a great idea to push the property all the way back to that back wall. That was it.
Thank you.
There is circulation.
Okay, last chance. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, my name is Doug Freed. I live at 15010 West Coolidge Street, Goodyear, Arizona, 85395. I guess the thing that I'm trying to do is it's going to add about 10% more traffic than we already have. And second, is this already approved and we're just trying to say, can we hold off until this traffic study done and hold off on the height abatements? Or is this a foregone conclusion? So I guess that's the thing that I'm trying to clarify is we can maybe hold off on this until some of these studies are done. Thank you.
You're welcome. Speaker's good. Anyone else?
I'm Anna Rudd. I live at 4249 North 150th Avenue, and I live in the green area for Millennium High School is at, and then the elder homes. And the bob wires or the wires that they have, the fence that they have over there for the old folks home, the students or the young kids has stretched the bob wire in the back so they get through there back and forth. And, so they're talking about making a fence right here, not a wall. So they're going to be able to go through to the park all the time, back and forth.
Thank you.
That's my concern because I live in that area. And I always have, kids coming through my neighborhood, and it's nice, it's peaceful there. And if we get to 650 people more there, it's going to just be a really busy neighborhood.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? You guys are really killing me tonight. Here you go.
My name is Sue Turber, 15091 West Elm Street, Goodyear, Arizona, 85395. From what I get from what you're saying, this was zoned in 2003 as a multi-level multifamily. That was 15 years ago. I feel I've lived here almost 10 years now. I feel the community has changed in the 10 years. When they zoned it for that, we have turned into this great family-orientated establishment here. Now you want to put in this apartment building. We've seen across the 303 all the development going in there. There's plenty of land out there. Why can't they just take this and move it out there instead of trying to cram it into this little spot? You have that park there. I feel that parents are going to feel that they're going to be impacted by all of these apartments opening as to the safety of their children at that park. I was looking at that. I'm not sure as far as depth and everything, but you've got a basketball court right on Indian School. Are balls going to be coming over there? People are playing in there? I mean, I don't know how far everything is, but possibility with balls coming over onto Indian School. But I just think that what they did 15 years ago, possibly this land should have been rezoned a long time ago for like what we have on the other side with the single story, not as much. Just seems to fit into the neighborhood much better. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? You sure? Positive? No, you're trying it again, but I remember you. All right. Good. I will close the public hearing. At this point in time, just to, I love that they tell you guys that we approve things. It's kind of a misnomer. Yes, we do kind of approve things, but we are purely an advisory committee. So we advise the city council. The final decision will be made at the city council level, no matter what the decision is here. Whether we agree or disagree with staff recommendation, it moves forward and city council has the final say for that, which our crack staff will obviously fill you in as to when the city council meeting is, so you have the opportunity to go there.
Mr. Chairman, since you mentioned that, the meeting will be hit on January 28th, Monday, January 28th.
Perfect.
In this room starting at 6 o'clock.
There you go.
Thank you.
So that is that. As far as the study goes, when it is triggered, it will be done. Those are standard practices within the city. I'm sure that the staff will appropriately address any issues that do come up in that study. While we don't have a public forum, there are ways to obviously get your hands on that study if you would like, and it's through probably a Freedom of Information Act request to receive that. But with that being said, we have to go through our normal processes to move this along. And so to start, I will entertain a motion from the commission so that we may have discussion. From anyone.
Go ahead.
Just so we can discuss it. Doesn't mean you have to.
I don't have the number. Go ahead. What's the number? Okay, Chairman, I move to open discussion on item 18-2100007, amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 Planned Area Development, Aviva Goodyear.
So, and the staff is probably going to get you here, so I'll help them out. A motion just to approve or disapprove, it doesn't really matter either way. There's still going to be a vote. A formal motion to open it up a second, and then we can start.
A formal motion to disapprove.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Maloney, or excuse me, moved by Commissioner Keys to not approve the amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 Planned Area Development, seconded by Commissioner Maloney. And with that, I will open discussion.
Point of order, I just wanted to know the discussion protocol that we just openly discussed, what we can generally ask them. Why have you decided to not approve, or can I just like some clarification on that?
Well, first of all, a discussion should go through the chair. And I would ask that the discussion is either discussion as where your feelings on the project, whether for or against, and not necessarily add another commissioner or whatever, but through the chair, and then we can, I'm sure Commissioner Keys will gladly speak up. And in fact, if she's willing, I would like to hand the floor to her and she can start this discussion.
Absolutely. To all of you here, very salient points. I'll start with the feel of the community. 2 stories I think would be appropriate for the community, the look and feel, to keep Goodyear the family-oriented as it is. I am a substitute teacher at Western Sky. Hi, Tyler. And yes, the classes are huge. I'm always here on the board giving that opinion. Towards the developer, thank you for being here, being interested in Goodyear. We want you here, but we want, I think for me personally, want to see something more in keeping with the surrounding community. The fact that you have 2 schools very close to this apartment community creates a density. Just because it's allowed doesn't mean it should be. And I think several people made those points. I live in Pebble Creek. I have seen similar towers, and they are for those who are many blocks away from those towers, not just their backyard. They still obstruct a view. You don't have to be looking at the mountains to know that when you look out your backyard or your front yard, you see something that's not in keeping with the community, the immediate community. We love the idea of growing Goodyear in a responsible way. That's why I sit here on this board. And I guess I would invite more discussion with the community on how you can be successful with this project, because I'd really like to see that. And I'd like to thank everybody in the community for coming, because this is your community, and we appreciate your taking the time to state your opinions. It is your community. Thank you.
Again, appreciate the enthusiasm, but if we could keep that to, actually, we're just going to end it altogether so we can get through discussion and move right along. Any other comments, discussion, points?
Well, my discussion is that I think it's a beautiful community. Nobody can take that away from you. I am concerned about the traffic. I'm concerned about the traffic, and you know, as far as the height of the building, you know, I think you've done a beautiful job in the front, and I'm not convinced that, you know, these surrounding communities, I'm wondering what they're looking at, because when I look out, I look at the, you know, the white tanks. I don't look south. So I'm not real concerned about the height. I am very concerned about the traffic. And I think that if, you know, somebody could come up and say, you know, I mean, I live in Pebble Creek also, and there is a guy that rides his motorcycle at 4:45 in the morning, and it's like, really? You know, so
I'm just
that
going
is,
to work.
yeah, thank God. But I am concerned about the traffic also.
Mr. Chairman, my, all the points made, very strong ones as well, and I do think this addition to Goodyear is beautiful and will be beautiful. I don't know how much power, without a stipulation of moving this to a non-high density residential area, it's already been planned that way. The only point I can see that definitely we would have some power in changing would be the height. And I would definitely like to open up more discussion on that. But besides the height, I'm not sure where we can take the conversation further.
Well, you do have the ability as a commission member to certainly disagree and go back to the standard height at a bare minimum, I guess, if that's how you would like to handle the height issue.
I would support going forward with the stipulation for staying with the 35-foot height. Wasn't that the original?
Well, so
Not the 45?
what we have on the table at the moment is you do not want to approve the project altogether.
Yeah.
So that
But
is the.
Okay, let's take a vote.
And then that's where
Where do the stipulations come in if?
Right.
So here's the thing. Yes, Christopher.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, sorry to interrupt. Just to help guide you a little bit, once a vote is taken, you know, everything is closed and it moves forward. So if the commission has some deliberation, or if you're seeking to strike a compromise position on a height or what have you, it needs to be done before, the motion needs to be revised. This motion would need to be rescinded.
Yeah.
A new motion made and that motion voted upon.
So bottom line is what Christopher is saying is if you want to start digging into these 5 amendments that they're asking for, Commissioner Keys, you would have to rescind your motion. We would then go into a motion to approve, and then we could amend the amendments of the staff report.
Well, then I would also like to know, to speak to the people that are bringing this to Goodyear, what would that do for the project in general as well? Because I don't want to just, boom, end the project, but I also would like to have a compromise in terms of height and aesthetics for Goodyear. The aesthetics for Goodyear is mostly what I'm driving at here. I don't want to just blast the whole project out of the water at the same time. This is where it's tricky, is we have 5 stipulations. The 4, all but that last stipulation of the height is where I'm sticking. And that's where it's tricky in regards to voting on this particular project. Does that make sense?
So, Christopher?
Mr. Chairman, Commission, thank you again. Sorry to continue to interrupt.
Please do.
Just trying to help here.
Yes.
So if the commission has questions for the applicant, as Commissioner Kish is alluding to, or staff, you can do that without reopening the public hearing. That is
right.
within the, I wanted to make sure that you all understood that. So if there was a question about what a modification to a stipulation may do, how it could impact, you have the ability of asking that question.
Thank you. Before we get to that, I'd like to just see if there's other comments. Commissioner Steiner?
Yes, I would like to go back to what my fellow commissioners have brought up. They're all spot on, okay? Now, to the developer, I think this is an absolutely beautiful, upscale community. I think it's a great job. I think it deserves to be in Goodyear. I think with this type of project, you're not going to bring in a lot of lower scale individuals that are going to cause an issue. My biggest concern, though, is on the traffic when I'm looking at Indian School, but I'm looking at Falcon Drive, and then I'm looking at 152nd Avenue going into Falcon Drive, and right up also in the upper left corner in that picture you're seeing, well, you won't see it on there, but there's an elementary school. So I have a big concern with the little children and all the traffic. So I think until we get a traffic study done, that I think we should kind of just sit on this, table it.
I wanted to go last.
I'm not sure.
Mr. Chairman, Commission, just for your clarification, a traffic study is not required with this application because the property is already zoned and entitled for the 288 or so units. What's under consideration tonight are the 5 stipulations that Mr. Creccia outlined for you, which is the height, the setbacks, the light pole increase, and those particular 5 things. The traffic study, as the engineering director alluded to, will be reviewed during the normal course of process with the site plan. And I understand that may not satisfy the commission, and I completely respect that. I'm just wanted to make sure that you know that you could be going outside the parameters of your authority to delay a project for something that's not required.
However, just because this is fun, I think that it would be more than appropriate, knowing that it does get done, we could add an additional stipulation that says a traffic study to be completed before final approval of the site plan. So it already happens. It makes everybody.
If you so desired to do that, that is essentially repeating what city requirements are now. If you wanted to do that to satisfy the commission and any other concerns in the community, you could certainly do that because that is essentially what city requirements are.
I think it adds a little bit, while it's there, and I agree with staff, and I know that it'll get done, I think it adds a little bit maybe certainty and transparency, at least to that issue, if this goes forward. So, Commissioner Steiner, anything further from you?
No.
Commissioner Barnes?
Yeah. I just wanted to point out that not only are we an advisory committee, we're a volunteer advisory committee, and we're all citizens, and you can all apply for this job if you want it. Are we still open with applications? We are still open. You can go online and apply tonight if you would like to serve on this commission. It's 3 years, up to 9 total if you, and then you go and you go in front of city council committee and they interview you and city council picks who they like, but you could all do this. With that being said, I think it would be helpful for the community just to reiterate what we're voting on and what we're not voting on. We're not voting on if a 3-story apartment can go here. We're not voting on where the entrances will or will not be. We're not voting on this layout or the landscape. We're only voting on those 5 amendments that are requested. This will go through a process of a site plan review where there will be traffic studies and all this other stuff that those things will be looked at then, but we're not voting on that tonight, one way or the other. With that being said, the 5 amendments, I don't have an issue with the 4. I was a little concerned about the lighting, asking for the lighting to go up a little higher, but since that is along the street area and we have, and staff correct me if I'm wrong, we have street lighting already that's much higher than that. I don't think it's going to be a problem. Plus, there's a limit on how much light you can have at the perimeter of a site that would override that anyway. The only one I'm really concerned with is making it higher than is allowed. That one amendment is my concern. So if the commissioner would like to rescind her motion to disapprove and came back with a motion to approve with the stipulation that the increased height not be allowed, I could support that. And that's all.
So I will say, that Commissioner Barnes is correct. I guess the height, though, would determine if it could be a three-story or not, depending on the product. But yes, as far as multi-housing and all of that, and where the entrance and exit of this place is not on the table, what's on the table is the height, the setback that you see there on the east side of the property, the patio size, which is more of an internal decision by the product maker, the amenities setback, where the amenities are actually in the 30-foot setback along Indian School, and then the 15 feet light post. Now, at the moment, the question on the table is to disapprove this project by Commissioner Keys. So, bottom line, I think we're at this point, either Commissioner Keys, you rescind your motion and we start talking about the stipulations, or we focus our debate on why we should not approve this and move forward with a vote. So I leave it in your hands.
Thank you. I think to be able to move this forward, I'd like to rescind my motion with this discussion of stipulations, as my colleagues here have.
So let's start with, you're rescinding your motion.
Yes.
Just for protocol, this may or may not exist, but Commissioner Maloney, are you okay with that happening?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so that is now off the table. So
Mr. Chairman, sorry to interrupt again. We need a vote on that.
to rescind the motion.
To rescind the motion,
Okay.
and then whatever the motion, whoever makes the new one, there would be a new motion on that one.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We have rescinded the motion, so what, you seconded the rescinding of the motion. Is that okay with, so Commissioner Keys has moved to rescind her motion on agenda item 8.3, the amendment of the Palm Valley phase, which was to not approve that project. Commissioner Maloney has seconded that motion. Is there any discussion on that motion?
No.
Okay, seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we do not have a motion on the table. So if you want to move forward with a motion.
I move forward with the motion with the, to approve. Let's see, what number are we here? 18-210-00007, amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 Plan Development with stipulations. How do we get the stipulations in there?
So if you can now within your main motion, you can go through the 5 if you want to change heights, if you want to change setback, patio size, amenities, the amenity setback, and the 15 feet on the light post.
Mm-hmm.
You can change those staff recommendations. I would say that the limitation of changing those are they cannot go below
Right.
code, basically.
Exactly. Okay, so the
Because all of these
stipulation is,
are above and beyond code, so you can go back to what our code says, but not further than that.
understood,
Okay.
understood. And the code for the height is 30 or 35? I heard both.
35 with the
With the
facade or the architectural work, right?
30 with a 5-foot parapet height.
Okay.
Parapet height, so it's 35 foot.
Okay. So,
It's 30. You could also just reference the existing building height.
okay, so
in your-
you
The
could-
existing building height, thank
Correct.
you.
So you,
With the stipulation that it stays the current existing building height.
okay. There is a motion, is there any?
Mr. Chairman, just for everybody, because we've had a lot of public interest, which we're really happy about. So thank you for coming tonight and expressing your opinions. But what we would like to, if we could respectfully make a suggestion to the commission. Can we go down to each one of the 5 stipulations, and we'll be happy to read them to you, or if you want to read them out of the ordinance now, to see, just make sure that you're okay with each one, and just change the 1 or the 2 that you are, would like to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I
Just
think
for-
you're only
for
going to
clarity.
change
The 1.
the 1,
Okay, so.
just the height.
Just the height.
And that would mean that the
Because we
30-foot
under-
setback, the red line would be fine? The patio size, not a problem. The amenities within the setback, not a problem. And the 15-foot height and the lights, not a problem.
Correct. Correct.
Okay, so just the height. So back to what our zoning ordinance are. So the 30-foot ceiling, 35, 30 and 35.
Yes.
Perfect. Is there a second?
A second.
It has been moved by Commissioner Keys, seconded by Commissioner Kish, to approve the amendment to the Palm Valley Phase 5 Planned Area Development with an amendment to the staff stipulation on height going back to the existing building code height.
Which Mr. Chairman, excuse me again, thank you, is just, you could just strike that stipulation number and it would just automatically revert
back to that.
Revert back.
It's number 4, stipulation number 4. So if you just struck that one, the other stipulations would remain in effect and the height as allowed by the current ordinance would be in effect.
Strike stipulation number 4. I will assume that's a friendly amendment?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kish, you're okay with that friendly amendment?
Yes.
Stipulation number 4 has been stricken. So approval, so what the motion now is, approve 1821000007, the amendment of Palm Valley Phase 5, striking stipulation number 4. That is the
Correct.
discussion on the table.
It is number 4? It's not number 1?
I don't actually have that in front of me, but I'm trusting our crack staff that they got the numbers right.
It is 4.
It is number 4. Are you concerned?
Must be looking at, I'm looking at number 4. It says landscape setback. Am I looking at the wrong motion? I'm looking at number 1. It says height. I'm looking at the action report.
Yeah,
Am I looking at the wrong document?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. We're referencing the stipulations in the ordinance, not the staff report.
Okay.
It's number 4.
Okay. Great. Any other discussion? Any further discussion? None? Okay. I'm going to ask for a friendly amendment, just to, since it was discussed. Will you just put that language I talked about in there about the traffic study so that it's open and transparent, that there is one completed, whatever our city code says, if it just is placed in as a staff or.
So if I can respectfully suggest that to ensure that the traffic report is approved by the engineering department, meeting all city requirements prior to site plan approval, prior to or in conjunction with site plan approval.
I bet Heather got that right. Perfect. That will be the new stipulation. Is that okay with you?
Yes.
Okay. Perfect. So that's the motion on the table. Is there any further discussion? No. None? Seeing none, on this particular one, Heather, I will ask you to do a roll call vote. And just to make it clear, we are voting to approve the project. The height goes back to our original code, and the additional stipulation is the traffic study to be completed before the site
Yes.
plan is approved. So with that, a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Kish,
Yes.
Commissioner Keys,
Yes.
Commissioner Maloney,
Yes.
Commissioner Steiner,
Yes.
Vice Chairman Barnes,
Yay.
Chairman Bray.
Yes. With, that is 6-0, the motion carries. Again, that does not mean it is approved. The council has the final option. They could go back to the original stipulations that were on the project. We are simply an advisory committee. I do thank all of you for attending. Young man, I hope you stay involved in these processes. They are important to your community and your state and the nation. So again, thank all of you for attending. I'm sure it was exhilarating. Feel free to come back once a month to see more of these. With that, thank all of you, and thank the applicant for traveling all this way. So, thank you. Moving on to agenda item number 9, staff communication.
Mr. Chairman, I do have a brief report. I know it's a little bit late this evening, so I'm just going to kind of make it real quick, if that's acceptable to you.
It is.
If you remember, the commission met on December 5th and considered a whole plethora of different applications. Anything related to a rezoning of a project named Phoenix 1011 in the southern portion of the city, several use permits for a church, monopalm, hazardous process, rezoning some property on Bullard Avenue from agricultural to industrial, along with some plats for both Australia and Palm Valley 303. The council considered those at their meeting on December 17th and likewise approved all of those. So everything that you considered at your previous meeting has been approved. One last thing, and I'm not going to get into it very deeply tonight, but as I mentioned, Katie and I mentioned to you earlier this year, we did receive with our current budget request some additional funding for training opportunities for the commission, and Katie and I are actively exploring those. So more information to come. So something to look forward to. And I hope each one of you had a great holiday season, however you chose to celebrate, and a wonderful new year. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'm supposed to announce the next Planning and Zoning Commission meeting will be held on February 13, 2019 at 6 p.m. at the Goodyear Municipal Court and Council Chambers. Some people don't know where that is. It's right here. One last thing I got to say, Commissioner Keys has had so much fun with us that she just can't stand it, and she is moving on. I want to publicly thank her for her service on this commission. She's done a wonderful job. She's spending more time with her family, which none of us, can question that, and we're very happy for you, and thank you for your service. And hopefully, the others of you that reapplied get through the gauntlet and make it back. So with that, Happy New Year to everyone. Thank you to the engineering team and Goodyear staff for sticking with us and helping us through that. With that, meeting adjourned.